Sonic Garden Radio live. Mang and Neads show. We lost it, but we're back. Thursday, the 7th. May 7th. Thursday. Sonic Garden Radio live. Mang and Neads show.
Welcome to another episode of the Mang and Neads show live on Sonic Gardens Radio, where we play Sonic Gardens music, banter of the day, and guest sit-ins with some acoustic guitar in front of the sleeping lion. And yeah, happy to have you with us. Anybody that can help us out, hit the subscribe button.
Do it.
And join our channel.
Tell your cousin.
We run this show daily. And, we're always doing what we can to upgrade and make things better. So, without any further ado, here's Mr. Uwa at the front desk.
What's up?
Yeah, man.
What's going on?
So you're ready to go today.
Welcome. Little jam.
Yeah, so we had an intro tune from Shaka. Shaka.
Live and uncut. And was that from the 15th?
We still have us. Yeah. Oh. That was no, that one was just overtime. That was just a rehearsal jam.
Oh.
Yeah.
Forgot.
And
record your rehearsals.
Yeah, man.
Just in case.
Well, just in case we find some good
magic.
Good versions in there, which
nice
I did.
Jam comes out.
Kind of forget about things over time if you have to just rely on your memory.
Right.
And there's some magic nights when we play music, and anybody that plays music knows that there's certain times that get magical, and it's I just have always thought that it was a good idea to record,
Right.
Goes way back.
Way back. Next thing you know, you're naked.
Yeah.
Fuck.
What do we got on the corner today from Ryan? That's a little Jimmy
Oh,
print.
Jesus. That's some old Warner up to his old tricks again. He did that for someone's someone did that for their significant other. And then Warner did it like a painting.
Yeah.
For someone for their significant other. And then he decided that he'd put it on a print and sell it to the masses.
Nice.
So
smart.
So
it's cool.
Yeah,
it's a cool one if you're.
He's an intelligent person.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people.
Yeah.
He is actually. He is.
He is too. I agree.
He's not here right now.
No.
He's probably busy.
Yeah,
watching
man. So
the podcast.
So it's with everything flipping and
we can always play his video.
That remember we played that interview, that ABC guy that interviewed Fauci. Yeah. Well, then he interviewed.
It was CBS. He's for CBS.
Well, yeah, CBS, and he just interviewed Trump.
Oh, he did too, right? Yeah. And Trump. Did you see what Trump said?
Yeah, a couple of the things. A couple of the things were, they're really, we're past debating about it. He's saying, yeah, people are gonna die.
No, but they asked him about reopening the guidelines.
Yeah.
And he said because some of the states haven't met Trump's own reopening guidelines.
Oh.
Yeah, and he said, I quote, actually, I'm going to quote him. "We give leeway to the governors." Unquote.
We give.
Oh, yeah, and then quote again. Quote. They've done a good job. Quote. Unquote.
And then it turns out that that scientists have found 14 mutations of the coronavirus. Man. So even the vaccines that they're working on right now And this is, again, this slow play. It's like you can't tell me.
Is this from
they
one
don't
of
know
your
this
doctors
shit.
on Facebook, or is this a real doctor? Because I actually didn't know I had so many friends that were doctors.
Oh, yeah,
But,
right. No,
and
this is...
scientists.
No, this is... So this is actual... this is actual... This isn't... I don't think this is like a...
I woke up this morning, I thought I was at fucking med school. There was so many fucking Facebook doctors out there. Fucking... It was like... Whew. I guess I shouldn't.
It's
read
mutated
Facebook
and
that
it's
early.
more contagious. That's what
Yeah,
they
it
say.
is.
Oh,
Oh, and I don't know about these pussies. They're like, they're taking all our rights away. We can't do shit. Hey, motherfucker, I did everything I wanted to except for go on tour because they're not having one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do something that's not happening. I get that, but come on.
yeah, like
Quit
especially
being a fucking...
like what are they? Yeah, like that's what I'm saying.
Quit
when it
acting like someone fucking cut your balls off and
Well,
fucking
that's why everybody's saying, oh, you just want a haircut, because they really can't think of anything
else to do.
anything else to like
Shave
say
your
is
fucking head
wrong,
off.
like,
Or head, not off. Yeah, don't shave your head off. Shave your hair off. Come on. Grow it out.
now.
Grow it out. Curdy was growing his out, but he cut it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what can you do?
Yeah. In your world. Sometimes it gets invaded. So, what else? What do you got in there?
Do you want? You want to jump right into
what?
Johnny? Let's give Johnny a.
Did you? He's got a 40-second. This is his second day in a row. 2 days in a row. Did you pull it up?
I got nothing here.
It didn't come.
It looks to be empty.
Oh no.
Sent from Yahoo Mail.
Oh no!
iPhone.
Don't give up my Yahoo.
Oh no.
Nah.
Thank you to Brother Bass out there.
Oh yeah.
Brother Bass has subscribed to us on YouTube
Today.
Oh, that was yesterday.
What a good day yesterday was.
Got a little update there. Oh, you just sent it again.
I did? No, I think I sent nothing that time.
Yeah, that time you did. HH, nothing.
Gonna take a moment.
Couple nothings.
Well, I doubt people just want to send me sit here and send fucking emails to you when you're in the other room.
Yeah, so, but, I mean, hey, man.
Shit. I tried,
so, what do you think?
It plays on my...
The whole thing about if it's more...
Looks like he's going out... Sorry. Looks like he's going out to bury a body or something. Did it come up?
Not yet.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry. Let me take the mic away.
So the scary thing about it mutating is that they're working on vaccines for the original strand, because that's the ones they have.
Right.
And now it's mutating. And so, I mean, there's a lot more, I think, to this whole thing that, it's hard to grasp it all. That's why there's so much confusion out there, because it's like hard to, some people are stuck, like we said, they're stuck on it's the same as the flu, but they don't understand how this is going to grow, and then in 5 years tell me what the numbers are. You know what I mean? Or,
right.
Or, is it really, like, even the thing, it's not going to go away. Like, Trump tries to say, oh, yeah, it's just going to go away. Don't worry about it, everybody. Hang in there. And then he gets up and says, yes, it'll definitely be coming back in the fall, or it'll be here. That's what he said, which is like, of course, because where is it going to go if everything they're saying about it is true? I don't know. But yeah, that video, did you ever watch the one that everybody's been sharing? Because
no, I don't need to watch. I don't need to watch anything that anybody that shares it that I know what they're fucking, like I just said, fucking go do what you want to fucking do, man. Like, come on, quit being a pussy. We get it. You don't want to, or maybe not but anyways, go do it.
So this guy would be a so-called whistleblower against, like the vaccine, and that's what it turns out.
Yeah, the one that they say worked for Fauci.
The video is paid for by someone that was fired 10 years ago.
Yeah, they're already discredited.
They've been anti-vaccine for the whole. It doesn't mean that they're like necessarily wrong, I guess, because they're discredited, because you do run into situations where, scientists are discredited for findings. But one of the things with that is because there's a couple different, you know.
I don't.
Well, like for example, the pyramids, they're
there still, right?
Yeah, but
All
what
right.
they're saying is there's no way that they could have been built in 2000 BC, which
They
is
don't know how.
Well, they do.
There was horses, right?
No, you can tell.
No, there was horses back then, right?
Yeah, of course.
Leverage, man. It's all about leverage, especially if you got horses and tough men.
No, but
they had slaves and peasants back then. You can know all you like. If you can get a hand on a rock, you can move it. You can. I believe.
Yeah, but the scientific brilliance of it and the correlation with where it's located and where
somebody's always got to do something first, though. You know what I mean?
Well, this is, of course.
You're talking about like engineering, like you're thinking, like the engineering was too far ahead of its time,
they
right?
Have done it. So, but
no, but they.
I'm not trying to get in a debate with it. I'm trying to say that there's a guy that studies like asteroid impacts,
right?
And archaeological
the guy with the hair?
digs. A guy named Graham Hancock.
Oh, I don't know him.
And he the only reason why I say that is because he's a guy that has some valid points, but not, he's not trying to bring like some this is a fact, but he's saying that you have to relook at all of these things because I guess it goes back to that same old like aliens thing where, but the thing I like about this one, the thing I like about this deal is that, so basically his theory is that a asteroid, like a mega asteroid, hit or meteor, whatever you call it, hit up in like Washington State area.
Right.
And it wiped the whole map clean like an eraser.
Right.
Just impact, and it just like sent, fires and all that stuff, and just cleared the whole like world. I mean, I guess I don't know exactly, but basically that's why all of like when we think of animals, so his theory is this is why all animals and even people seem to have originated from Africa, because they were the least impacted by what had happened.
Right.
Okay.
So this is after the Ice Age.
Yeah. Right. So and then basically, and no, actually,
I really just think that people were this far ahead before, and then they got wiped out.
That's what this guy's theory is.
Oh, so then why couldn't they have made the pyramids?
So what he's saying, so this took place in about 18,000 years ago, and like there's evidence of, this impact. There's nuclear glass like that from the the impact or whatever it comes in. And so his theory is that it wiped the whole, starting it basically in the northwest United States and wiping out all the U.S., South America, somehow across the, over to the rest. But anyway, his theory is that if you are a human right now and you knew that there was going to be this like large impact,
right?
I mean, everything that we've built, what is going to withstand that and not just turn to utter rubble or be burned to unrecognizable, circumstances.
Right.
So like they can tell by looking at Earth and digging it up that like there's layers of, change in the Earth, and that's how they come up, obviously with, and again, super layman explanation, but because I don't know anything about it really, but other than that, that's how they determine years. But obviously they're guessing, and they have a certain theory or a certain mathematical means of going about it. But for the most part, it's like it's not a sure thing. So they sat there, and years ago somebody deemed that the pyramids were made by the Egyptians, during that certain era, and that's it, like everybody's stuck with that. So when all of a sudden new evidence starts to come out, it's harder to get the scientific community to adjust because it requires, so much,
Yeah, but what
double
proof does he really
research.
have that there was shit before? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, it's
Or
really okay. So
what
my
proof
point
does he
is
have that they weren't
he's
smart
saying,
enough to do that though?
So if they and he does break that stuff down, like basically the idea that there were all these slaves was not as accurate as it appears to be. Like it wasn't.
So people didn't have. There wasn't peasants. You're saying
there was peasants, but if you're a peasant, then you probably don't have a job, right? And if you're working
Unless
on that, then you're probably
worker.
a bit of a mason and you have a trade. So it wasn't like I don't know all the details, but again, I'm just kind of
I mean, if
touching
they still
base
had
on how,
if they had like slaves into the 1700s and shit, then I just don't see how they wouldn't have had them back
I don't know
then.
that. I mean, I'm sure. So that's just one thing that I just kind of like. I can't remember, but it was something to do with the slaves. It just wasn't. It was more of a master craftsmanship, the whole concept of it. So and then how long it would have taken to do it, like on best situation, and they're just saying they didn't have the people, they didn't have the ability, they did probably build some like ones that tried to replicate. So, well, listen though, the part of that is that, so back to what I just said, if there was a possibility that 100,000 years ago, we as a society had advanced to, cell phones and all these things and, master this and that and who knows, vehicles and airplanes. And then, the slate's wiped clean and the earth burns for 1,000 years.
Right.
So now what's left? And then you kind of look at it, and then the other ones with like the Sphinx, with the water erosion, there's no way. There's never been that much water there. So even if it was 2,000 years of wind, that's not enough to do the damage, But there used to be water there, and that goes back to that same time frame when that meteor hit. Like 18,000, and that's where certain things start to line up. Where, and then they got another one that they just found. I want to say it's called like it's a reverse pyramid. I want to say it's like Gobekli Tepe or something like that, but it's like a reverse pyramid, and it was built into the ground. So the same theory that if you were somebody that wanted to pass on knowledge or something to the next, like knowing that like it's going to end and there's going to be this apocalypse of the ending, then what could you create that would withstand such a situation? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you could make a pyramid. You could maybe, or a reverse pyramid into the ground. And you see, so they find these things and they're trying to date them. And everything wants to stick with, the civilization and when did people come about and when were people around? What are the different, all the time zones and all the different eras that have been laid out have, they're just so solidified in that scientific and history that, it's hard to get people to think of any other possibilities. But again, they're just theories, so you can't. But in the end, everything is right. That's the whole idea. Is that?
Well, I mean, it's not really a theory to say that someone obviously built that thing. It's not. It's not just. It wasn't there by nature.
I like to think that there's this idea. So let's listen to this one, and I don't necessarily like agree or like I think that.
You know what I'm saying? Though the pyramids, obviously, they weren't that perfect. That like they weren't there just by nature. Someone built them fuckers.
Right.
No matter where, somebody built them. No matter who they want to. But they always want to. Yeah, and they always want to pick it apart. It can't just be with who came up with the first thing saying that these people made them.
If that's your life, though, if you're like a real life Indiana Jones, and
but he can't. But where's his proof, though? Like he can't debunk that. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Is
just saying this. That you don't think that someone was smart enough to be that good of an architect back there doesn't. I just don't see.
Well, that's me saying it, but But I'm like I said, there's like a whole You can he's written a couple books.
Oh, I'm sure.
And he's but it's like I'm saying, it's something he's very passionate about. His studies. He goes to all these places. He's walked all these places. He's not just like a guy that sits home reading some book. Like he is a true Indiana Jones type guy that you come back with your findings and people want to discredit you is what I'm saying in a lot of cases. But if he had,
what I'm saying though, if he had the rock solid dead to rights info or proof, then you know what I mean, then they would publish his, not publish it, but they would make it that's how they were made.
And nothing will be like that until it gets studied and confirmed by an outside person, and nobody wants to jump in to be number two to find something out. So you just gotta understand though. You look back at the idea of the Earth is round, which is something that has come back as far as debatable again. But back then, Galileo, he changed the world, and nobody wanted to believe him. And then,
but that was forever ago too, right?
Yeah, and what I'm saying is, so even that, in order to do the pyramids, you had to have knowledge, the way that
you had to know how to use.
Dude, the placement is when it gets crazy. When you look at longitude, latitude, and location, it's pretty crazy. And then to think that there was one mastermind that was put that one there, cut this one like that. No way, man. It's way advanced. So
I don't think
so. I like the idea.
I don't think it's too. I just don't see how it's that more advanced back then. I just don't You know what I mean? They were figuring out how to make a fucking rock wheel, for fuck's sakes.
They can't replicate it though.
What?
They can't replicate those things.
Well, I mean, that's probably what his purpose was. I mean, it's just not by chance that some fucking Einstein comes along or something. You know what I mean? There's been smart people before, really, you know what I mean? You're not always the first one, man.
No, I agree. But this, so here's an extra twist on it that's I like to think of is that there's this combination of these things that are mysteries, man. They're mysteries, really, and we can say we know. And we can teach that, that there was people, pushing up wheelbarrows up ramps, and they.
I mean, I just don't know how they. Yeah, I just don't know. Pulleys were around back then. Scaffolding, you could build fucking badass scaffolding out of trees back. They weren't stupid.
Have you ever But
I don't know much about the pyramids.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I guess in all reality, I don't either. But. I also won't discount that a person wasn't fucking brilliant back then just because the times were way different and they didn't have stuff that we have now and machines that we have now does not mean that somebody wasn't a fucking go-getter and thought ahead of everybody else, just like people have done through our lifetime, through the 1900s, through the 1800s. Them fuckers started coming up with stuff. Doesn't mean somebody couldn't have done it back then. I don't know the exact date, but that's my thing. If anything, people are getting dumber as they go on, as we get into where we're at. Back then, they didn't start off dumb and get intelligent. I mean, you weren't born brilliant, but come on, right? I don't know. Go ahead. No, I got you. I understand. It's another one of those situations where it's why even think about it? Who cares? The story's been told. But, it's just one of those things.
I just don't like discredit. I just think that you can't discredit a person way back then they couldn't have done something. That's my thing. I don't really give a fuck who did it or whatever. My thing is I think that there was enough intelligent people back then. You know what I mean? Even if you're the top guy and you're intelligent, whatever, you're gonna have a sidekick, and your sidekick's gonna fucking listen to you. You know what I mean? It happens in a million different fucking professions. You always got some dude, whatever. He might not be the idea guy or as brilliant as you are, but he's right there with you, right there to do whatever, and he's one of them backmans. You know what I mean? He'll back you no matter fucking what. And they learn.
Right. All right, check it. I'm gonna just play. I looked up. How do you think the pyramids were built?
I'm sure you did, Angelo.
This is like a 4-minute clip from this guy Graham Hancock. So I just want to hear.
Wait, this is the fucking guy you were talking about?
This is the dude, man.
Oh man, why would? All right.
What do you mean?
Why are we giving him?
Because he's not some flake that's like sitting in his basement.
I'm not saying
like
that.
This is his profession, and all I'm saying is that he gets upset, and so I'm kind of like defending him a little bit because he's been told by people that he's a quack, and
he might not be a quack, but
all right, listen up.
How do I think the pyramids were built? To be honest, I have no answer to that question. And anybody who tells you that he or she knows how the pyramids were built are not telling the truth, because we don't know. We don't know. The Great Pyramid contains a number of mysteries. The Great Pyramid, first of all, is very big. The Great Pyramid weighs 6 million tons. We can calculate that from its mass. It weighs 6 million tons. Its footprint is 13 acres. It's more than 750 feet along each side. It's 481 feet tall. More than 2.5 million individual blocks of stone were used in its construction. But it's not just big. It's really, really precise. The Great Pyramid is locked in to the cardinal dimensions of our planet. The Great Pyramid is targeted on true north within 3/60ths of a single degree. Now, no modern builder would create a large building and add onto his or her shoulders the additional burden of aligning it to true north within a fraction of a single degree. They just wouldn't get it. They wouldn't understand why it was important to do that. But something drove the builders of the Great Pyramid to go to a very great additional trouble, not only to create this massive, imposing monument, but also to lock it on to true north. And then other things, to incorporate into its dimensions the dimensions of our planet. I don't want to get too numerical or possibly even boring here, but if you take the height of the Great Pyramid and multiply it by 43,200, you get the polar radius of the Earth. And if you measure the base perimeter of the Great Pyramid accurately and multiply that measurement by 43,200, you get the equatorial circumference of the Earth. In other words, for thousands of years, through times, through dark ages, when human beings didn't even know they lived on a planet, never mind its dimensions, that monument has encoded and speaks out the dimensions of our planet on a scale of 1 to 43,200. And the scale is not random. The number 43,200 is derived from a key motion of the Earth, which is called the precession of the Earth's axis. The Earth wobbles on its axis very slowly at the rate of 1 degree every 72 years. And 43,200 is a multiple of 72. In fact, I think it's 600 times 72, but I need to double check that. But it's a multiple of 72. Check it out. So they've given us the dimensions of our planet on a scale defined by the planet itself. And that's an incredibly clever thing to do. How on earth did they do it? Where did that knowledge come from? This is why I'm forced to consider the possibility of a lost civilization in the human story. This is a work of almost, but not quite, space-age precision. It contains errors, but they are human errors for sure, but they're very tiny. The great precision, great skill, great craft. Some people will say to you, oh, the Great Pyramid was built by slaves. That is utter bullshit. No slaves were ever involved in the construction of the Great Pyramid. As far as I know, there were no slaves in Old Kingdom Egypt whatsoever. The Great Pyramid, I've climbed it 5 times. I've been in every known chamber in the Great Pyramid. It is a work of stunning artistic achievement. You're looking at the work of masters of architecture at the peak of their skill, not an unwilling labor force, but people who gave their labor to that work with love and with care and with attention. There are blocks of stone weighing 70 tons that have been raised more than 300 feet above the ground. And we're not talking a couple of blocks, we're talking dozens of blocks of that weight. The average block weighs about 2.5 tons. It's the moving of those huge blocks of stone, their arrangement into a high precision monument, and the achievement of actually doing it, because you know, if you make a small mistake at the base, by the time you get to the summit of your 481-foot high pyramid, you don't have a pyramid, you have a corkscrew. You know, they got it all right, and nobody today can explain how they did it, with the knowledge that is supposed to have been available in ancient Egypt, in the Old Kingdom, and with the tools that are supposed to have been available. And that's why I can't help feeling that we are missing some chapter from the human story.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. What do you think, Josh? Nothing? No different?
I don't think any different. No, not at all.
But you liked his explanation a little bit? Or like you at least like see where like you know, he's got
I mean when he starts pulling out numbers, but that numbers bullshit that don't mean shit to me. I mean I get it. But
well, that part is not in is not under
I think people I just what I don't think is I like I told you, I don't like him I don't like people getting discredited back then. We weren't alive then. We don't I mean, I guess they could have been all stupid, but I just don't think.
No, he's not saying stupid. He's saying it couldn't have been done by an unwilling labor force.
Right. But how do you know like I mean, you're not unwilling if death is a forced upon you, right?
Look at
anything. I don't know. I wasn't around then. I'm just saying.
Look at like St. Bart's Church.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right?
I
guess.
Wasn't
built.
I mean, yeah.
No, I mean
the
like
one on the corner by the laundromat.
Yeah, like the rocks and like everything. Seems like it was put together pretty nice.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job, I guess.
It seems like they put care into it as opposed to so it was a workforce that like really wanted to build that church to represent, you know.
I mean, it was some God-fearing people.
Yeah, I'm just
you would
saying.
Assume.
No, I mean regardless, I'm just saying when there's a difference between people that put in, you know, the work into something and.
I mean, sometimes you have no fucking choice, even if you're not a slave. Sometimes you have no choice.
They come up and they're like, "You did it wrong." But again,
you know what I mean?
You're
like
talking about.
I mean, we don't know, I guess. So neither of us are right. But well,
that's his point. If anybody tells you, so you can't. The same way you can't accept necessarily his theory.
Right.
You can't just accept what they've told you, and that's what.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious they were built forever ago, right? That's obvious.
And so I didn't get to my theory though that this was what I was thinking.
Oh.
Was that lost civilization, right? But this civilization was advanced, and they knew this was happening enough to prepare for it in a way of like passing on Earth knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And then, so just roll with me, my
all
like
right.
You know pretend story here, and. So then they're also like, we got to relocate because, you know, we're not going to be able to live on Earth. So they also advanced into the, like, getting out of Dodge. So they take off in their little spaceships in their journey to wherever, right?
And now they're aliens.
And then they came back as aliens, and they're always coming back, and they've changed. They've, 100,000 years or whatever it's been, and they've turned into... different creature. Maybe they're spacesuits. They lost weight. They don't.
Yeah, I seen that one fuckhead try to say that one of them monuments over there were the aliens' landing pad or some fucking. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about any of that. I'm just.
I saw that fucking where him and his buddy were over there. It was on. I don't know who the fuck they are. They weren't cool enough for me to remember who the hell they were.
Well, you remembered something about it.
Yeah, because I'm not really I don't give a fuck about like if there's alien, like I don't care. I don't really, big fucking deal. Like, has anybody ever hung out with them? Not that's alive. So
Well,
I just think those are I don't know, man. Somebody built them, and it's too long ago for, you know what I mean? However long ago they built them, they were fucking smart enough to build them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, and it was forever ago. It's not like someone built them 200 years ago. Right?
Well, he's saying it's not like you'd be able to know right now that they didn't build them 200 years ago.
Right.
But you're willing to accept 2,000 years.
I mean, I don't.
So what he's saying is more like 20,000.
Yeah.
He's saying more like 20,000 years, but that all of a sudden says...
I don't even know when they supposedly were built. All I'm saying is I just think whenever they were built, somebody built them from that era, whatever year, and they were smart enough to fucking build them. And their crew was, obviously. With horses. They had some horses back then. What else they got over there? Camels?
From what I understand, the historical timeline of like our people, right?
Tell me.
And this is also like the same theory would also kind of say that we didn't necessarily come from the same apes, but more like something similar.
Right.
But you know, like according to the Bible, which you can't.
Oh boy.
You can't get past it because if you say what today's date is, it's based on the birth of Jesus. So
right after death.
So that means supposedly Jesus was born 2,020 years ago. And then supposedly And then supposedly the book of Genesis what's his name? Moses. And Moses was 2,000 years before that. So that puts that's as long as we've been like people documenting history.
And the pyramids were there already.
No, the pyramids would
they weren't.
The pyramids would be
after Jesus?
Would be around the same time as that 2,000 years ago. Or so it would be 4,000.
AD.
Well, 2,000
or BC.
BC. Yeah.
Oh. Before Christ.
Yeah. See,
after death.
So like it's interesting how everything is based on that. So they obviously took hold. So
well, it was kind of a big deal to some people that Christ was born.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that.
He was the savior.
I mean, what it was about. What did he was
born to sacrifice for
Yeah, but
our
what
sins.
the fuck did he save though? Like in all actuality.
Well, he's
Yeah, exactly. Somebody wrote a fucking book. Like, I mean,
no, there's a lot of there's a lot of
you know.
No,
what I mean?
listen,
it's
it's
the
not,
old fucking. They didn't even have writing utensils back then, right? But they wrote a fucking Bible. Like some motherfucker held on to his story, and then they hooked up with the other 7 or 8 or however many there is, and that knowledge, like
the game was played through telephone, and like the first
exactly.
gospel of Jesus
is fucking
is like
Dude,
90 years
we
after.
could write a fucking Bible if we wanted to.
Because they were all because anybody that like spoke or talked about him were basically
if you can't write
crucified
it down
just like he was, so everybody like didn't do it, and then finally when they were able to like come out, and you know, that's when it somehow took over. Yeah.
Oh boy. Get Warner on here. He's a Jesus believer. No, he's not.
Yeah, Warner, if you're free, feel free to give me a shout on the phone. I'll answer.
Yeah, we can talk about God, Warner. We can talk about these motherfuckers have stories with fucking they remember like it was yesterday, but it wasn't yesterday. So that's where the bullshit part, like, I don't know. Anyways. Ah, boy. I guess you know how to get me fucking going.
Wait, what are you talking about? You're just upset about religion?
No, I'm not upset about it. I'm not I'm not upset about it, but I'm just saying to throw your whole bag of tools into some book that somebody wrote that didn't have fucking anything, didn't have any way to write anything down back then, but when they did, or when they passed their story on, then those people were able to write. Like, you can't tell me that it's the same fucking story that it was when it happened. That I don't give a fuck. That the human brain is not that good for you to remember, or even 2 or 3 people, you know what I mean? Even so, if there was nothing to write with or really like mark it down from when the first guy was going to die and he had to tell his story, so 7 or 8 of them had to do that same fucking thing. No way someone's memory is that good to remember everything. Every fucking story that they told you. No way in hell, man. No way.
And then, of course...
there's no way it's... like, I mean, like, they have all these things. There's no way your brain is that sharp. No fucking way. Like, can you remember... enough to put in a book fucking verbatim how the story went, even in things that aren't of an important, you know what I mean, things that are important to you that aren't, like, I'm not saying religion, but I can't remember like that. There's no way in fucking hell. And I sure to fuck can't tell somebody that every fucking word, like Warner, for instance, if he was to tell his stories and tell them to somebody, there's no way that someone can remember every fucking thing that he tells. That no way in hell.
Right.
There ain't no way in hell. You're like, he gets, his stories are great, and he can describe everything, every fucking thing he can describe in a story. There's no way you can remember it though. Like, no way in hell. And not to be able to pass it on and it be about some guy that... Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I'm letting you. Yeah. No, I mean, that's kind of old news. It's interesting. It's something that is it's fallen. Like, politics is more fun than the people like on Facebook picking on the religion and like stuff like that. It's like faded. It used to be like big debates about, you know, people preaching the word, and then other people like, and then Trump came along, and nobody really cares about religion anymore. But yeah, I think that I just think that it's best said in the Bad Religion song that, like, if it's what you need, then, you know, hey, go with it. Like, some people need that. Some people need an answer, or like something that, you know, to get them through. So I guess that's you know.
Yeah. Yep. They were writing in rocks back then. They had to carry enough rocks to fill a Bible that they wrote on.
Yeah. There's that too.
They carried them around with them.
Well, even...
Do you remember when I wrote on the sandstone back there?
My thing with it all...
In fucking Jerusalem.
My thing that, like, the Old Testament, which is the stories of like Moses and stuff, is like, you know, like there were things that happened where, like, he went to this king who was his, you know, stepbrother, basically.
Right.
Old
stepbrother.
And then and he just wanted, you know, his people to be set free, and when then when the king didn't let him, he came and said that if you don't, then you know, then there's going to be something that comes through and takes the firstborn of every family, and the only way that a family would be protected would be to put lamb's blood or goat's blood on their door.
Yeah.
And then if they did that, then their child would not be murdered by our loving God.
Right.
And so
what
you know,
then?
in those days, it wasn't as much about God being loving as it was God being the all-powerful, controlling, and the watching eye.
So he still is.
And
he's still fucking shit up.
However, you get into the Eastern religions that spread that, you know, God is not a form, but God is
life.
God is love. God is life. And that seems more understandable without, like, needing a specific answer, or to believe that that you're going to be sitting at the right hand of the Father if you do good. It's like how many billions of people have died and lived. It's going to be a packed little sitting place. But it's just like, and then in the end, maybe you create your own paradise either way.
Oh boy. I guess.
Who knows?
I mean, I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
Exactly.
I'm pretty yeah, I mean it'd be great if you go somewhere, but I'm pretty set on that. It's fucking, when it's over, it's over. I mean, it's not like it's not a good thing to be set on, or a nice settling thing, or whatever. The unknown is never good, but I also am a pretty good believer in that, like how no one's ever I've never ran into anybody that died before that came back. You know what I mean?
Well, there are definitely, but same thing. You got to get through all. It's like when we were talking about that Bob Lazar, and it's like he was so frustrated over his life because more time was spent investigating him and his whether he was credible than there was investigating the actual story that he was trying to share,
Right.
And it's like the same thing. Everything that happens with that, it's like Edward Snowden. We're looking at 7 years since he, ratted out the NSA.
Right.
And, now he's living in Russia.
He wrote a song. Living in Russia.
It's like,
Snowden.
That's it, man. It's like now it's like nothing but ancient history. He's just a name. He's just a mark in the history books.
Oh, they made a movie about him.
Yeah. Well, he made a movie first.
Oh, Edward?
Yeah, man. The whole thing about
I'm saying they got a
like
real
actor, right?
Yeah, they got like a real paid actor.
But the funniest thing about it is that how do you tell that? Like, they did tell other parts of the story, but they actually remade the exact thing that he did on HBO, which was meet these reporters at a.
They do that with a lot of things.
At a hotel. It's just interesting because you know what I'm saying. Like Snowden recorded it all.
Right.
Like he right away got reporters to show up. Okay, start recording. This is all important. Because this is what I'm doing.
Is someone sending him money or something? Someone should be paying him something. Something. Seriously.
I'm not sure how
somebody
he survives,
should be so happy and send him money for doing that. He actually did a good thing. He gave up his job too. See?
And he and another thing about Snowden is that he's from a full-blown like military family and background. And,
right. So he knew he wasn't a dirty.
He knew that he was
he wasn't dirty.
He knew that he was gonna, be facing them.
Well, he was smart enough to get
motives.
the fuck out of here too, though.
Oh, he's super smart.
Yeah. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
They call him Brilliant. Dr. Brilliance. And there you have it.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts, though. The things that he did expose, that they have an agency that can definitely, like those old days where people are covering their,
the KGB days,
covering your camera, because right now, I mean, we're on camera, so we don't give
who gives a fuck?
That's why.
Get us, whatever.
But basically, without a doubt, they can access cameras, phones, laptops.
Put your phone down if you're gonna fuck someone's shit up.
Anything. So it's like, but they also don't. It's not like full blown knowledge. Like that's how they kept it under wraps, so they could just find out whatever they want. But what it was that like even in like the part of his story was how he was like meeting these doing the job, and he's just a contractor. He's not a military guy, just a brains dude. And he basically, what the guy was showing him how all the stuff that they could do and what they could access, and and when he was like, "Whoa, is that legal?" and he's like, "Who cares?" It's like we have access to it. It's only going to be illegal if someone, Yeah.
Yep.
So he really, did the right thing. And you know who should be backing him is guys like Trump and Trump's people,
right?
Because they're the ones, and I get a little bit
mad that you're not on Trump's side.
Oh. No, I don't like that Julian Assange, right? He was like
Julian. He's
the other one, and he's the one that everybody's always sticking up for. So you always see the right wingers sticking up for that guy,
right?
And
but
I'm like, but that guy, but he's now that guy, like, unlike Snowden,
right?
That guy's been accused of, felonies, and, they claim that it's because he had all this information, so they came out with all this stuff. But, unlike Snowden's, like, clean, like, never did anything wrong, has been a good, like, his history compared to his motives were not by no way political. They weren't, like, anti, any Republican. And that's where it's like, it seems like Assange was always going after, like, the dirty Democrats and exposing that stuff, and then in the same breath, these people would when you bring up Edward Snowden, they think he's a treason and he should be put in prison. Oh, maybe he did good, but he should be put in prison. But then it's okay as long as they came out against Hillary Clinton. Then it's like their fan, and that person needs to be protected.
Right.
And so like I said, man, it's just pretty wild. He even said it at the end of his video. He goes, my biggest fear is that I'll expose all this information. I'll have given up my entire life, my career, my family, my wife, to never be able to come to my homeland. And then he said only for it not to make any difference and everything to just go about as it was.
Well, then if you thought that, then maybe it wasn't a good idea to do it then.
But, well, at the same
you know
time.
What I mean? Like, if you thought that, if you really thought that.
Well, it's those things where, well, he did say that's what he thought, that he was worried that it would mean nothing. And in the end, like, I talk about it, and we can talk about it, we can know, and they can question, but
it doesn't mean nothing.
And then the other aspect why the Trump people should be on that.
It all comes down to, like,
Trump
our
himself,
thing. Who gives a fuck?
And even Trump himself,
like, if they're watching us.
Yeah, well, I don't really agree with that, but
you don't care if they're watching, or I
do care. Yeah, because well, that comes down to the basic. Like, if you're gonna scream about, not you, but people are gonna scream about any amendments, it's always the privacy.
Yeah, I ain't worried about all that shit.
And the ability and our rights. Like, as citizens, I don't like the idea that
I mean,
people say you just
like
gotta,
it, but what are we gonna do about it? It's my thing. Like, what the fuck? If they're watching, they're watching. Like, there's nothing I'm gonna do about it. I guess I'm not. I'm not gonna do anything bad in front of my cameras. I guess, right?
I guess I'm talking about, like, the way that people say, you get pulled over, you just,
that shit's
kiss
stupid.
Ass and all that stuff.
Well,
and it's like the same thing. So if you don't have. Like, it's basically something that.
I mean, if you get pulled over, you don't have to be a fucking dick. You could try to talk your way out of it.
That's kind of what sucks about it. Is that
I give them the old really.
Is that the theory is if you speak your mind, or you tell the cops that you don't appreciate being pulled over, or that they're, you feel like you're being harassed.
It can go two ways.
Then all of a sudden you're disrespecting, and and that's the concept of being like.
You got to give them a minute. You can't just get off the jump and get after them.
Oh, yeah.
You got to let them introduce themselves and ask for your license and stuff, and then you can start being whoever you think you are.
Yeah.
I just give them a fucking paperwork. What the fuck? I'm already pulled over.
They always get you, though, on the...
you know what I mean? I'm pulled over.
They go up and they're
already.
like, do you know why I pulled you over?
No, I fucking don't. Today, I don't.
You say no, I don't. Right.
But sometimes they aren't wrong, and you did do something. And you did do something that you didn't know because you weren't fucking paying attention or something.
The best one I had was I told you guys the one recently where I had a cop right behind me, and I just was at a stoplight, and maybe 10 at night, no cars around, and I just pulled up.
Yeah.
And I just made the left, and the guy was just like, "What are you doing?" So this other one, I was legit and everything, and then he got a call. I was so lucky because he was definitely gonna ticket the shit out of me.
Right.
And but then he got a call that there was some kind of like serious, assault or battery or something, and he was like, I gotta go. you're lucky.
Someone's water broke.
But I had another really good one where I was running on no inspection, right?
Right.
And so I knew it, and I had to go pick up my daughter at school, and I'm like, oh man, I'm just gonna, and it was one of those things where the color changed. That's what it was. Like, you can kind of get away with inspections until the color changes. So like when the new year comes and they're like, no, there's no way if you have a red one that you're up to date with the yellow one, or like whatever, so it's very easy for the cops to catch. And so I'm cruising along. It's like that same road, East River Road, heading up towards Polkville Hill. That's where I'm heading towards.
Yep.
And I go by a cop, and I see him right away. He spins around. So I look up in my mirror, and I see him spin, and I know he's coming for me because of that inspection. And so my thought was, okay, got to pull over. So I go to pull over to the right, but at this point I'm already up to the red light, right?
Yep.
And so last second, again, no traffic around. Last second, I decide, well, I'm going up this hill after I'm done with this pullover. So that's where I want to be. I don't want to be heading the wrong way so that I have to make a U-turn to go the right direction. So instead of pulling to the right, I pulled and I jerked back into the left lane, and then I made the left turn, right? But at that same moment, I look up and realize it was a red left arrow.
Oh.
So you see what I'm saying? It's green. Yeah. I was about to pull over to the right, and then last minute I was like, no, I want to be going that way. And
right.
I made the left, but I ran the red. So now this guy chases me down, and he thinks that I was trying to get away from him. Yeah. Huh. And I'm trying to think of how, it took me a little while, and I definitely got 2 tickets out of that one. And that was, and his, yeah.
Huh. That's a good one.
You follow me, right?
Oh, I get it. I totally get it.
It was a good move, and I was but it's hard to explain.
It was a terrible move.
But the other option was that I was either in the middle of the traffic or
I was listen. You always make it more difficult for them. You always just fucking, if you have to, throw it and park right there, and then they'll get on their loudspeaker and tell you where to pull. I've done it before. Fuck them. They're pulling you over, man. They'll tell you what to do. They're the boss, man.
Yeah.
I just I make it a point. If I see them throw their lights on behind me, like right behind me, and they pull me over.
Here's the other thing.
I either pull right over or stop right where I'm at.
His lights didn't come on right away, so he made the U-turn, and then he was still coming for me.
Yeah, he was waiting, and then you ran the fucking...
And then I ran a red light.
And he's like, fucking douche. What the fuck?
That is how
this fucking asshole.
Like, what are you doing? And it's just like,
yeah,
man.
I was going down the road on 88, and I was doing that Bartz's with me. We were hauling along, and I was passing cars. The cop got behind me like when we were going 65, but evidently I wasn't paying attention. I got going up to like 80 or something, passing cars or whatever. The cop goes by me, pulls this other person over too, gets out in the road, flags me down, and I pull over and he goes, dude, I was following you and you just kept going faster and faster. You were at like 60 something and you just kept going faster, and I was right behind you, he goes. I go, oh, all right. Well, I guess we'll just take the ticket, fucking, and we're out of here. Yeah, that's how that fucking went down. I got a ticket for sure. Whew. Paid the fine though, man. Called right up, made it happen. Always take care of your tickets.
Yeah, those two. I was all prepared.
Johnny.
I was all prepared to go into the DA and just be like, man. Look, I got the inspection. It's right here. I had an appointment. I already tried to get it inspected. The whole spiel about, but I had an oxygen sensor, whatever, and that existed. It was real, and I really did have a thing.
And that's why I ran the red light.
And then the whole thing about the red light, I was going to explain just like I did that I was trying to pull to the right, but I had to go left. So I went and the light was green, but the red arrow was there. So it was kind of a half a red light run.
And
I
forgot my
definitely
password.
wasn't trying to evade the cop.
Oh, is that what he got you with?
Well, that's what he kind of claimed. So anyway,
but he didn't give you a ticket for trying to invade the cops, right?
No. But he put that in his notes that when I went to pull him over,
Angelo.
he took off.
Some motherfucker named Angelo tried to outrun me on the left.
So that was one where I went in and I sat down for the with the DA,
right,
or the ADA or whatever.
Gave my hand job.
And it was interesting though because I've done a few tickets before, and this was the first time it was done this way.
Ooh.
And he came out,
lock and key.
He just announced to everybody, he's like, "Who's here for a minor, a ticket violation, et cetera, et cetera?"
And you raised your hand.
And yeah, but there was 7-8 people. He goes okay, everybody come with me, and then we went and sat down at a table, everybody.
Yeah.
And he
hashed it out. Let's trade.
And the guy's like, okay, this is what's going to happen. He's like, I'm going to go around, say your name and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to work out a deal right now. So you had to sit there and listen to him work out deals with everybody. So you're waiting for your turn. And he didn't want to hear any arguments or cases. He just wanted to say, okay, I'll drop it to this. You willing to take that?
Right.
It's this one's.
So what'd he drop yours to?
He dropped He dropped one of them.
The inspection. And then he made you pay for the fucking running the left red light. Right?
Yeah, I want to say that's what happened. Yeah.
Goddamn right that's what happened. Because
he dropped the inspection. And
no one ever heard of a fucking fix-it ticket for running a left red light.
Yeah.
Fucking. Oh, shit. That's a good one, Edge. Yeah, they're right behind us. He'll never know that. He just turned around to get behind me. Maybe that's what you should have said when you pulled over. I thought you had to go. You just did a U-turn. I thought you were going up the hill. You should have said. I thought you had somewhere to be. I was just getting the fuck out of your way.
Yeah, definitely had some good ones.
Huh? Yeah. Same red light you got pulled over at, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, it was a different one. Yeah, the other one was when, the fairgrounds, where the fairgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
And I made a left. I made a left the other way.
Oh.
But yeah.
Yeah, going left the other way. There's only one way you can go there, probably on the left with an arrow.
Every time. Every time. You've sent this to me 3 times, and I didn't get it. So is this one a little bit longer?
No, it's 40. I told you it's 40-something.
Seconds?
40, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I got your video yesterday, but then I got 3 today, Angelo? And there's no attachment.
That's what I was sending. Unbelievable.
There is no attachment, sir.
No.
I don't know.
He's an ugly son of a bitch. Old dinosaur teeth camp. Oh, man. Mang and Neads show. Sonic Garden Radio.
Yeah, Sonic Gardens Radio. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe.
Go ahead and do it.
We're just giving some banner. Give us a anybody wants to
banner.
Let us know how you feel about the pyramids or
we got
pulled over.
We got a banner.
Hey, call in with a
question.
We'd love for call-ins on.
We got a banner.
Situations where you've been
going
pulled
across
over.
the top. Or we don't have it today.
No, it's not there.
Unbelievable.
607-373-HEAT. That's our number. Give us a call.
Heat. We'll take a phone call.
Yes, we will. Amen.
8 men.
8 men.
Happy-go-lucky. So, what do you got?
What do we got?
Fucking Karen or Sharon. She I don't know her, but she wrote on Costco's page that she will not shop at Costco until you remove your mandatory mask rule.
Oh my gosh.
And then one of her buddies chimed in. Or maybe it wasn't the buddy.
And
yeah. Thank you for taking such a brave stand. And then put her name down there. We look forward to the documentary. That we made about you someday. Is that So that was Costco, right? Chiming right back.
Oh, they said
They
that?
said that, yeah. Thank you for taking such a Thank you for taking such a brave stand, Sharon. We look forward to the documentary. Fucking so then Jack, he was pissed that Costco said that. So he's like, wow, not a very professional response, Costco.
Yeah.
Looks like I will be getting my membership refund myself. It should be a choice. And then Costco comes back with another one with a fucking knockout punch. We've chosen not to refund you. Fucking Costco for the win.
That is pretty good.
Right? Fucking A, it is.
Rude, you know? Hey, man, they shouldn't get a pass.
Don't fuck with Costco.
You shouldn't get a pass because you're a rude,
Oh, Sharon. Her name happened to just be Sharon,
customer.
too. There's old
They think
Sharon and Karen.
So that talk about entitlement. That's like the number one entitlement is when people flip out over you know, they've paid for service or I shop here.
Yeah, but not everything is Burger King. It ain't fucking always your way right away. Have it your way.
It's true.
Fucking A. Oh, Costco for the win.
That was good.
I liked it.
I want more like that.
Yeah.
We have chosen that guy's just like pissed that day, really. The Costco guy, he's like just had a really bad day and he's like, fuck these people. This is my job. I'm taking them down.
I mean, it's funnier to hell though. Like he did 2 in a row, great response.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or she, whoever she was, he, she. Yo. Yeah, got all Jack and Karen, man.
Did you try to send that again to me?
I sent it to your... Yeah, I did, but then I just sent it to your fucking...
To my Google?
No.
What?
To, just to your regular thing there. So you could just send it to your own email.
Oh, okay. I got you. That'll work. In the meantime,
one of your favorite songs, huh?
Actually,
it was.
I'm gonna play the song that I just released.
Oh,
this is from old Buckshot's brother.
Oh,
the one that
Bucky's brother.
So this was from his Saturday performance on our show.
Saturday.
And
Saturday. Sleeping Lion?
In front of the Sleeping Lion. The Sleeping Lion Sessions. That's right.
We're going to get Warner to paint some eyes in that fucker one of these days, and then it won't be sleeping. Change it up. Fucking standing up when the corona comes out. When we come out of quarantine. Be a standing lion. Right behind me.
Yeah.
Two-tone. We call this one two-tone.
Timmy Two-Tone. Hold on a second. We're just trying.
Yeah, just waiting on you, man.
So yeah, this is
just waiting.
If I can get this thing open.
I don't know.
Yeah, brother.
Oh
so,
boy. Suey. Suey.
So, ladies and gentlemen, my first...
What do you think Warner's doing? Avoiding his parents?
Oh, God.
We need to play his video.
I feel bad for him.
Oh, man. We need to play...
I mean, not... You know, it's actually a great thing, but if you got to battle the two sides where it's like, you know...
Well, I know, and his poor kid's
tough.
probably like, why can't I hang out with Granny and Grandpa, or whatever he calls them? And I can only imagine Warner sitting him down and talking to him about it.
Well, bud.
Bud. Here's the gist of it, and it's a fucking 30-minute story. By the end of it, the kid's looking at him like, "You could have just told me no, Dad."
Can I play with my trucks?
Yeah.
All
Can
right.
I play with the box?
So here we go. This is Buckshot's brother performing the "Hungry for You" blues, recorded live Saturday,
Cover
May
of the week.
2nd, in front of the Sleeping Lion here at our Sonic Gardens studio. And we'll be having many more to come from this session, as well as future sessions, because I definitely want to get Benny back in regularly, so we don't have any, keep us going on these days when we don't have guests.
Oh, yeah.
But once we build up this catalog, we'll have a lot of them anyway. So
be like Sears and Roebuck, motherfucker.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy this take.
Play it for him.
MAng and Neads Show, Sonic Gardens Radio.
Saw you crying in the pale moonlight. I was trying to set things right. Face to face, 1,000,000 miles apart. Walked away with my only heart. I can't complain, I'm a sad old tune. In my grave I'll remember you. From beyond I will call you soon. With this song I will carry on through. I spit and growl instead of breathing. I drank and howled for my healing. I carry round this crate of hateful feeling. Just trying to lose those hungry for you blues. Stars align for us to be. In my mind you were everything. How one kiss could ignite the sea. Now you're mist and I'm diseased. I'm getting by on my friend morphine. Hope I die on this empty street. Though your mind wanders endlessly, don't waste your time pondering me. Do not waste your time pondering me. Yeah, I spit and growl instead of breathing. I drank in howls for my healing. And I carried round this crate of hateful feeling. Just trying to lose those hungry for you blues.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the MAng and Neads Show live on Sonic Gardens Radio. That was Buckshot's brother performing the "Hungry for You" blues. I believe that is a Benjamin Todd song.
Oh, yeah. It is.
Yeah. So
from Lost Dog.
Very nice. Very nice, sir.
Done a good job. Beautiful.
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 All right, so I did get that video. Let's see if I can pulls it up.
Well, Johnny's on a tractor.
Done
On a Kubota.
Is that what it was? I wasn't sure.
Johnny on a tractor.
Figured it was that or a ski lift. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Right. Johnny out there fucking around.
Did I get it?
45-second video of Johnny fucking around.
Oh, no.
And we're off.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ba-boom.
Bam. Here we are.
You got it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Give me just a moment. Gotta pause this baby. Oh, it's a shorty. Got a short one.
I can hear it.
Hold up. It's a shorty. We gotta pause it. Bring it back to the beginning.
Turn her down in my ears. Please.
Okay.
Whew. I'm not. It's not.
Be that loud.
Oh, fuck, it ain't. Come on here and put these on, man. I'm telling you. It fucking.
Woof.
Yeah.
Woof.
Diesel engine.
All right, here we go. Coming at you. This is going to be our Johnny segment of the day. And here we go. Coming at you fresh. Live.
Here we are. Back again.
Back again.
Shoot a little video this morning. I haven't been taking enough pictures and shit of what I've been doing out here, so I'll try to catch up a little bit today. Headed into the woods right now. See what we got down here, and we'll take it there. Bright sunny day yesterday. On April 1st, April Fool's Day. Today's April 2nd. Another beautiful day turning out to be here in central New York. Doing our best to isolate and hide from a virus. The invisible enemy. But we will be victorious. Let's see what we get into today.
Fucking guy is all about driving and videotaping himself.
So
every video so far is him driving something while taping.
That one was like the Trump launch pad press briefings.
Yeah.
You can't hear anything because it's going whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah,
whoa,
that
whoa,
diesel.
Whoa. And they're like, we like it that way.
Old Diesel Johnny.
He's like showing you what I'm doing, but all we see is a white sky, Johnny.
Yeah. The silent virus.
The silent. The invisible enemy.
Invisible enemy.
You know, who would have seen it coming?
Nobody. Nobody. Donald.
Good stuff.
Oh, Johnny.
Na.
Hey.
Yeah. So I got a few more crying eyes. I'm gonna release that one. I got Run Your Mouth to release.
Oh yeah.
Buckshots, brother.
Fucking A.
Yeah, I got a few of them. I got a few ready. Hit the button. Figure I'll do that when I get out of here today.
Ready and
Share another one.
Sharon. She's mad at Costco. Oh, Sharon. Sharon Beavers. Oh, yeah.
Testing 1, 2.
We got it. Fucking loud and clear.
You can hear me?
Now I can.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Sonic Garden Radio. MAng and
Should get
Neads
all
show,
those four on
motherfucker.
What else we got? What else is happening today? He didn't have a whole lot to bounce off of.
Oh, Johnny?
Good to see your
I don't know.
surviving out there.
I mean, that was so he's sending us. We're gonna like catch up because that, like he said, that was from April 2nd, so that was over a month ago.
Oh, okay.
So he might not even still be a lot with us.
Oh, right.
So something could have. This is like one of them leading up to.
Okay.
It's like a Mang and Neads movie, our first
I got you.
production. So no one knows the ending. Tune in tomorrow, and we have another video from him. I would say it's after April 2nd. So he's still kicking
Jesse
as
was,
of April 4th or 5th.
Jesse was tuning in when we were talking about
I bet he was.
You saw that? Yeah, he gave us a couple comments. What a nice guy. Great topic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm glad somebody agrees with the topics I try to bring to this thing, you know?
Oh, well, I mean...
What else? What else is new? We got a,
what do we got?
I don't know. What else is happening in the world?
Everybody's mad. Everyone's upset.
Society's dividing, hardcore.
Nah.
These are the moments.
I mean,
it's taking the stance of, now you're part of the problem. That's how people are. Different people are claiming the other side is part of the problem. Well, I just want you guys to remind everyone out there that there was a response.
Spit it out.
There was a response from our friend.
Which one?
Our lady friend, Kaylee.
Kaylee?
Whenever you say that one.
Kaylee! Hey, Kaylee!
My head off.
I know.
My head.
Kaylee! I pulled the mic away so it wasn't so loud. Kaylee! Hey! God, I heard her coming through the back door out there.
Did you hear her that she did address her comments? And
Kaylee?
And, it's not as fun to address the comments as it is to address the statement. So I just got to throw that out again, though. So here we go.
Wait, what is it? Is this refreshing?
Yeah.
It's the same one?
Absolutely. This president will always put America first. He will always protect American citizens. We will not see diseases like the coronavirus come here. We will not see terrorism come here. And isn't that refreshing? When contrasting it with the awful presidency of President Obama?
Why do they have to take a nut shot at Obama? Kick him while he's down. The motherfucker was there 8 years.
Well, you see,
somebody liked him, you cocksuckers.
Yeah, in that same theory, somebody liked him. Yeah,
there she is. Oh, Kaylee. Hey, what's her last name? Bender.
McKenney.
McKender.
McKender.
Kaylee. We should get her.
Come home.
We gotta get her. Kaylee. We gotta get her on the phone. See if we can get an interview. You can ask her some questions.
Oh yeah, right.
Refreshing.
No, we couldn't match her. She would run circles around us.
Fuck, she would.
Yeah, she would, dude.
No way.
We wouldn't get a word in.
Yeah, we would.
And she'd be like zooming around. The fuck she would, you say?
Yeah. No fucking way, man.
You're like, nobody's taking me down. Dude,
Yeah,
she's pro. Like, she's
not
like
pro
that,
enough. She's just, no, because you can beat stupid always. Stupid, you can always beat stupid. It don't matter.
No, because when you make valid arguments,
yeah, but we don't have to. That's where I come in.
Through.
You and Warner can do the valid arguments, and I'll just fucking come in for this frog stomp. Fucking boom. Day's over.
Okay.
That's why they should start asking Trump fucked up questions that have nothing to do about whatever, and then it'll confuse him. He won't get it.
Yeah.
Like quit. Like they ask him those questions, and like they already know the answers to them. As the other part. Like it's the whole throwing shit in people's faces. Like yeah, I get that they want an answer, but they already know the real answer. Like they don't have to ask him. They know what happened. Then you're just trying to catch him in a lie. Like yeah, we get it. He's full of shit. We understood that part. Like ask him something fucking fucked up. That has nothing to do with nothing.
I got you.
Go ahead.
No, you're right. They should just come out of
nowhere, man. Just all these people.
Ask
him about something boring and stuff, so he doesn't. It'll like deflate him because he's all about himself and answering
what
these
about
questions so fucking wild.
Here's a gotcha one. You'd be like, so, is there a reason that are you allergic to dogs, or is there a reason that you're the first president? In 50 years to not own a dog?
Yeah,
like,
just
what's up with
stupid
that?
little questions like
Doesn't that seem kind of weird?
Yeah, beautiful questions. Do you have a cat? Just basic kindergarten questions.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever have an animal?
Yeah, stuff that he will not be able to think quick enough.
Because he'll want to lie.
Whatever, and to lie, though. He won't be able to, though.
Yeah.
Like he'll be dumbfounded. Oh, Donald. Like we should get like they do that to like they have like 5th and 6th graders ask NFL like around Super Bowl. They have them ask one question to NFL guys, and they ask these awesome questions, right? But they're like, you know what I mean? They're from a 5-year-old. We should do that to the president. He would be able to answer them like it would be right in his wheelhouse. All right. So what else we got? Anything?
That's hilarious.
Anything? Anything else we got?
I don't know. We could probably wrap it up because I do have some stuff to do. Have today be a little short one. But hey, everybody, 53 days.
53.
Man, we've been running this thing 53 days.
That's 3
more. And we got some, more guests and some more acoustic sessions in front of the Sleeping Lion. More videos to be released on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I got it all hooked up these days, so I'm trying to...
Twitter.
I guess that's
Find
not really
them on
all of
Twitter, motherfucker.
But yeah, anything you can do. Anybody out there that hasn't subscribed,
we got an Instagram page now, Mang and Neads.
Let somebody else know about it.
You do? Oh, yeah. Mang and Neads Show. Check us out. Like us.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Subscribe to this channel.
Yeah.
Tell your cousin.
Once again, trying to get 1,000 subscribers and increase our channel, our views, and bring you guys some authentic, wholesome Central New York entertainment from some fellas that, we like to party, like it says on the laptop.
Party and bullshit.
Party and bullshit. That's what we're about.
It's some lady gave it to me at a show.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like
Biggie Small. It's a Biggie Smalls party and bullshit. Yeah, they were ready to party and bullshit too.
When they gave you that.
Yeah, and then the weekend got canceled. It did.
Was that the Watkins Glen one?
Oh yeah.
That's what it was?
It was, I think.
What was that because of? A flood?
Their water got fucked up.
Oh, right. Yeah. Something weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was like...
Because it did rain and get out of hand, but then their water got messed up.
So think about how outraged people were at that moment, and now that's like
we had a Thursday night dance party.
100,000.
Cooked a bunch of venison. Got a bunch of hippie or like people that had never really tried venison to eat it and stuff. Curtis was there. Shad was there. We had a hell of a fucking time, actually.
Sweet.
Thursday night.
Nice. Yeah. All right. I'm going to give you guys a closeout tune here. I'm going to give you another one of these Benny recordings. This one I haven't released on
this is unreleased material, motherfucker.
Well, it's not. You can watch it if you watch or if you did or if you have watched our Sunday episode or our Saturday episode last Saturday, May 2nd.
Saturday.
I don't know, was that day 48 maybe? Day 48?
I'm going to say yeah.
And it was. So I'm just sectioning off all these songs that Benny played and releasing them one at a time. So
cocksucker.
This one has not gone out to the files quite yet, but
singles here, motherfuckers.
Coming soon.
Or watch the doc.
Yeah.
Mang and Neads Show, Sonic Garden Radio Live. What's the name of this one?
I believe this one is Crying Eyes, but it might be Run Your Mouth because...
Why you always gotta run your mouth?
Yeah, and it's just a second here because I'm just originally putting this into my thing. So yeah, I think we're coming. I think it's coming.
It's breathing hard.
Any moment.
Any fucking day now.
Any moment. Coming in hot.
He's got dial-up in there, folks. His server is dial-up. So.
And it's dial-up. Wait. Shit. Is that the one?
Wait shit.
Seems like it would be that one, huh? Oh, man. If it's not the right one, I'm going to be upset.
Here we are, folks.
Maybe.
Spinning, it's spinning.
Spinning round.
Tomorrow's 54 a day, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Took me in.
It's interesting to think that we've been doing it that long, and we're about to reach 60 days. But
maybe
the days of our shows coincide with when the Central New York lockdown began. So here we are, 53 days since everybody was told to stay at home.
Exploded.
We're reaching almost 2 months so far. A lot of changes in our lives, but at the same time, a lot of things are the same, at least in Josh and I's world, where we have our own businesses and individual, entrepreneurs trying to make shit happen. So here I am. Here he is, doing it every day.
Doing it. You got that fucking video ready?
I'm struggling a bit.
Oh, all right.
But
they call him the struggler. Usually he's the juggler.
I'm the juggler and the struggler.
Today he's the struggler.
There, it said I couldn't scan it for
oh boy,
viruses.
The scan man.
There we go.
Here he is.
Some bitch.
Rocking like an aeroplane.
So, ladies and gentlemen, another one from Buckshot's brother in the Sleeping Lion Sessions.
This is Run Your Mouth.
Yeah, it is. And this is mAng and Neads Show, Sonic Gardens Radio. Subscribe.
Back at a dead-end job, working all week long for some rich slog. Makes me wanna go out now, steal and rob. 'Cause the minimum wage it just don't get me none. Lately things don't seem the same, and telling me that it's all bound to change. I've been traveling, I've been moving on these days, still find me in the same old place. And I don't know who's to blame. Whether it's your fault, whether it's my fault, it's all the same. And why do you always gotta run your mouth? You like to talk a lot about something you don't know nothing about. You don't know how bad I wanna come over there and knock you out. And the whole time going around talking about something they don't know nothing about. Time can be wasted and it can be saved. Take it with you where you're going anyway. Don't know why you get so upset when people say it don't mean much, it don't mean a fucking thing. And why do you always gotta run your mouth? You don't know how bad I wanna come over there and knock you out.